Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Haven, Colony's main building, and watched the sunrise paint the sky orange and pink. The view never got old, even after 15 years of living on this distant world. Rolling hills covered with earth. Wheat stretched to the horizon, while in the distance, the mining towers pulled precious metals from the ground. 50,000 people called this place home now, and Jake felt proud of what they had built together. "Another beautiful morning," said Lisa Clark as she joined him at the window. The chief engineer carried a cup of coffee and looked tired. She had been working late again, making sure the power systems ran smoothly. Hard to believe we're so far from Earth. Jake nodded. Haven sat in the Kepler 442 system, hundreds of light years from home. The journey here had taken their generation ship 2 years, but it felt like a lifetime ago. Most of the colonists rarely thought about Earth anymore. This was their world now. The harvest reports came in, Jake said. "We're ahead of schedule. The new wheat fields are producing twice what we expected." Lisa smiled. "Good news for once. My team finished upgrading the communication array yesterday. We can send a message to Earth if we want to. Not that anyone there remembers we exist. That was probably true. Haven Colony was just one of dozens of settlements scattered across human space. Earth had bigger problems to worry about. The colonists had learned to take care of themselves, and they did it well." Ryan Davis burst through the door, his face pale with worry. The security chief never looked scared, but today something had shaken him badly. "Jake, you need to come to the command center right now. We've got a problem." The three of them hurried through the corridors of the administration building. Colonists stepped aside and watched them pass with curious eyes. News traveled fast. In a small community, and people could sense when something was wrong. The command center buzzed with activity. Amy Foster sat at the communications station, her hands flying over the controls. She looked up when Jake entered, and he could see fear in her eyes. "Sir, we're picking up massive energy signatures at the edge of the system," Amy reported. "Long-range sensors show at least 200 ships approaching our position." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Are they human?" "No, sir. The designs don't match anything in our database. And, sir, there's something else. We intercepted some of their communications." Amy played the recording. Strange sounds filled the room, like a mix of clicking insects and whale songs. The computer tried to translate the alien language, and words appeared on the screen. Biological matter detected. Rich feeding ground. Prepare harvesting tools. Suitable breeding stock identified. Preserve samples for consumption. No resistance expected. Begin approach. The room fell silent. Jake read the words again, hoping he had misunderstood. But the meaning was clear. These aliens saw the colonists as food. "How long until they arrive?" Jake asked. Ryan checked his instruments. "At their current speed, about 6 hours. What do we have for defense?" Ryan's face grew grim. 3 patrol ships, all lightly armed. Some ground-based weapons around the main settlements. Maybe 200 people with military training. He paused. "Jake, we can't fight them. Not with those numbers." Jake looked around the room at his people. These were farmers and miners and engineers. They had come here to build a new life, not to fight a war. But now war had found them anyway. "Show me the tactical display," he said. The main screen lit up with a map of the system. Red dots marked the approaching alien fleet, spreading out in attack formation. They moved with purpose, like predators who had done this many times before. Blue dots showed Haven's tiny defense force, looking impossibly small by comparison. "They're not just raiders," Lisa said quietly. "Look at their formation. This is organized. Professional." Amy's console beeped. "Sir, I'm getting more transmissions. They're scanning our cities, counting our population." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. 50,000 people depended on him to keep them safe. Children played in the schools he had helped build. Families lived in homes they had carved from this wild world. All of it would be destroyed in a few hours. "Can we evacuate?" he asked. Ryan shook his head. "Not enough ships. Maybe we could get a few thousand people off-world, but the rest?" "No," Jake said firmly. "We don't abandon anyone. If we can't all leave, then nobody leaves." "Then what do we do?" Lisa asked. Jake studied the tactical display again. The alien ships were huge, some the size of buildings. Their own patrol craft looked like toys in comparison, but they had to try something. Ryan, get every able-bodied person armed and ready. Set up defensive positions around the main settlements. Lisa, can you boost power to our shields? I can try, but Jake, you know it won't be enough. I know. Jake turned to Amy. Open a channel to Earth. Full power, emergency frequency. Sir, even with our upgraded array, it will take months for a message to reach Earth, and even longer for help to arrive. Do it anyway. Amy's fingers danced over her controls. Channel open, sir. Jake took a deep breath. He knew this might be the last message Haven Colony ever sent. Oh, but he also knew that somewhere, light years away, people needed to hear what had happened here. This is Colony Administrator Jake Morrison of Haven Colony in the Kepler 442 system. We are under attack by an unknown hostile alien force. 200 enemy ships are approaching our position. We have minimal defensive capabilities and expect to be overwhelmed within hours. He paused, thinking of all the people who had trusted him to lead them to safety among the stars. We came here to build something beautiful, something that would make humanity proud. We grew food and raised families and proved that people could thrive anywhere in the galaxy. If anyone receives this message, please remember that we tried. Please remember that we were here. Jake nodded to Amy, who closed the channel. The message would travel through space for months before reaching Earth. By then, Haven Colony would be nothing but a memory. Now what? Ryan asked. Jake straightened his shoulders. Now we show these aliens what humans do when our backs are against the wall. We fight. Lieutenant Commander Kate Sullivan sat in the control room of the Deep Space Communications Array, watching the screens with tired eyes. It was 3 a.m, and her shift had been quiet. Most nights were quiet. The array picked up signals from across human space, but most were just routine traffic between colonies and trading posts. A soft beep caught her attention. One of the screens showed an incoming transmission from the Outer Rim. Kate almost ignored it. The outer colonies sent false alarms all the time, usually when their equipment broke down or when new operators made mistakes. But something about this signal was different. It carried priority codes that she had never seen before. Kate sat up straighter and began running the signal through the computer systems. The message was from Haven Colony in the Kepler 442 system. Kate frowned. She had never heard of Haven Colony, and she knew most of the settlements in human space. The computer checked the database and found a record. Haven had been established 15 years ago, but Earth had lost contact with them years back. Most people assumed the colony had failed. Kate played the message and felt her blood run cold. The voice was calm but desperate, reporting an alien attack on 50,000 colonists. The timestamp showed the message was 6 months old. Kate realized with horror that by now, Haven Colony was probably gone. She grabbed her phone and called Admiral Stephen Carter, head of the Earth Defense Fleet. The Admiral answered on the 3rd ring, his voice rough with sleep. This better be important, Sullivan. Sir, we just received a distress call from Haven Colony. They're under attack by hostile aliens. There was silence on the other end. And Admiral Carter said, Haven Colony? Are you sure? Yes, sir. Authentication codes check out. But Admiral, the message is 6 months old. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Kate spent the next 20 minutes analyzing the message. The more she learned, the worse it got. 200 alien ships attacking a peaceful farming colony had almost no weapons to defend themselves. By now, they were all probably dead. Admiral Carter arrived with President Helen Brooks and half the military leadership. Kate had never seen so many important people in the communications center. She played the message for them, watching their faces grow grim. There's 50,000 people, President Brooks said quietly. And we're just hearing about this now. The signal. Took 6 months to reach us, ma'am, Kate explained. Even if we had received it immediately, we couldn't have sent help in time. Admiral Carter studied the data. What do we know about these aliens? Nothing, sir. They're not in any of our databases. But based on the colonists' reports, they seem to be hostile. Very hostile. The president turned to the admiral. What are our options? We could send a small fleet to investigate. Maybe rescue any survivors. How small? Admiral Carter thought for a moment. 20 ships. Maybe 30. Can't risk more. Without knowing what we're facing, President Brooks nodded, but then Kate saw something change in her expression. Admiral, how many people live on Haven? The message said 50,000, ma'am. And how many ships do we have in the entire fleet? 847 active vessels, ma'am. The president was quiet for a long moment, then she said, "Get me the press secretary. We're going public with this." Admiral Carter looked. "Surprised, ma'am? Are you sure that's wise? We don't even know if anyone is still alive. That's exactly why we need to go public. These people are human beings, Admiral. They're our people. The public has a right to know what happened to them, within. Ours, the story was everywhere. News networks ran constant coverage of the lost colony. They showed pictures of the original colonists, families who had left Earth 15 years ago to build a new life among the stars. They interviewed relatives who had stayed behind, people who had been waiting years for news from their loved ones. The public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with demands for action. Veterans groups called for volunteers. Even civilians with no military training offered to help with rescue operations. Kate watched the coverage from her station at the communications array. She had never seen anything like it. The entire planet seemed to be united in grief and anger. People who had never heard of Haven Colony were now demanding that Earth do something to help. Admiral Carter returned to the communications center. That evening, looking exhausted, "The president wants to address the nation tomorrow," he told Kate. "She's going to announce our response." "What response, sir?" The admiral was quiet for a long moment, something unprecedented. The next day, President Brooks stood before the cameras and the world. Kate watched from the communications center, along with billions of other people across human space. "My fellow humans," the president began, 6 months ago, 50,000 of our people sent a desperate plea for help. They were under attack by hostile aliens, facing impossible odds with no hope of survival. That message took 6 months to reach us. By now, we fear the worst. The president paused, and Kate could see the emotion in her eyes. "But we will not abandon our people, living or dead. We will not let their sacrifice go unanswered. We will not let the galaxy think that humanity gives up on its own." Kate held her breath, waiting for the announcement. "Therefore, I am authorizing the deployment of the entire Earth Defense Fleet to the Haven system. All 847 ships will travel to Kepler 442 to rescue any survivors and to show the galaxy that when humans call for help, we answer." The room where Kate sat erupted in shocked whispers. The entire fleet that would leave Earth almost defenseless. It was the largest military operation in human history. Admiral Carter stepped forward. "Some will say this is too risky," he said. "Some will say we're leaving Earth vulnerable. But I say this: if we won't protect our people, no matter where they are, then what are we protecting Earth for?" The speech ended, but the real work was just beginning. Kate watched as orders went out across the fleet. Every ship, from massive battleships to small patrol craft, was ordered to prepare for deployment. The mobilization would take weeks, but when it was done, humanity would send a message to the galaxy. That night, Kate received a call from her brother, a captain in the fleet. "We're really doing this," he said. "We're taking everything we have." "And going after them?" "Are you scared?" Kate asked. "Terrified," he admitted, "but also proud. This is what we should do. This is who we are." Kate looked out at the stars through the communications center's window. Somewhere out there, humans might still be fighting for their lives. Soon, they would learn that they were not alone. Soon, they would see the lights of 800 ships. Coming to help them, the greatest armada in human history was about to launch, and Kate Sullivan had been there when it all began. Captain Neil Thompson stood on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance and watched the greatest fleet in human history assemble around Earth. Ships arrived from every corner of human space, forming massive formations that stretched from Earth's orbit to the moon. He had never seen so many vessels in one place. Nobody had. "Final count is in, sir," reported his communications officer. 847 military vessels ready for deployment,
Nice.
plus another 63 civilian ships. That volunteered to join us. Neil nodded. The civilian ships were a surprise. Mining vessels, cargo haulers, even luxury liners had volunteered for the mission. Their captains knew they might not survive, but they came anyway. Danny Walker, captain of the mining ship Esser Mountain, had been the first to volunteer. "Those are our people out there," he had said. "We're not letting them fight alone." Engineer Chief Patricia Lee approached Neil with a tablet full of reports. She looked exhausted. For the past 3 weeks, she had worked around the clock to prepare the fleet. "All ships report ready for jump, sir. Fuel cells are topped off, weapon systems are online, and life support is functioning at full capacity. What about supplies? We're carrying enough food and medical supplies for a 6-month mission. Dr. Susan Hayes insisted on bringing enough medical equipment to treat 50,000 people, just in case." Neil smiled. Dr. Hayes led the medical team and refused to give up hope that they would find survivors. She had convinced the fleet to bring portable hospitals, surgical equipment, and tons of medicine. "Better to have it and not need it," she had said. The fleet was organized into battle groups, each with its own mission. The battleships would engage the alien fleet directly. The cruisers would provide support and protect the smaller ships. The destroyers would hit fast and hard, disrupting enemy formations. The frigates would rescue survivors and guard the support vessels. But Neil knew the real strength of the fleet was not in its ships or weapons. It was in the people who crewed them. 200,000 men and women had volunteered for this mission. They came from every world in human space, united by a simple idea: no human should face the darkness alone. "Sir, we're getting reports from the outer colonies," his communications officer said. "Mars Defense Force is sending 23 ships under Commander Gary Lopez. The asteroid miners are contributing 15 armed transports. Even the research station at Proxima Centauri is sending their patrol ship." Neil felt a surge of pride. This was not just Earth's response anymore. This was humanity's response. Word had spread across human space, and everywhere people heard the story, they wanted to help. Admiral Carter's voice came over the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter. In 1 hour, we will begin the jump to the Haven system. Some of you have asked me why we're risking so much for people we've never met. The answer is simple. They are human. They're family. And family doesn't abandon family." Neil looked out at the assembled fleet. The ships stretched in every direction, their running lights creating a constellation of human determination. Battleships like the ESS Thunder and ESS Phoenix waited alongside. Smaller vessels like patrol boats and supply ships, each one carried people who had left their homes and families to help strangers in need. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Monica Fisher of the ESS Thunder," the communications officer reported. "She says her destroyer squadron is ready to lead the advance." Neil smiled. Monica Fisher was known throughout the fleet. As a fearless commander, her ships would be the first to engage the enemy, and she wouldn't have it any other way. Dr. Kevin Barnes, the fleet's chief scientist, appeared on the bridge. He carried a tablet full of data about the alien threat. "Captain, I've been analyzing the limited information from Haven Colony. These aliens appear to be a nomadic species. They consume entire worlds and then move on. How do we fight them? That's the problem. We don't know much about their technology or tactics. But we do know they're organic ships, possibly living creatures. That might be a weakness we can exploit." Neil studied the data. The aliens had been at Haven for 6 months, probably stripping the planet of resources. They might have grown stronger during that time, or they might have become complacent. Either way, the human fleet would find out soon enough. "Captain Admiral Carter is requesting all ship commanders report to the flagship for final briefing," Patricia reported. Neil nodded and headed for the shuttle bay. The final briefing would cover last-minute tactical changes and contingency plans. But everyone knew the real plan was simple: get to Haven, destroy the aliens, and save whoever was left. The shuttle ride to the flagship gave Neil time to think. In his 20 years of service, He had never been part of anything this big. The fleet represented the combined strength of human civilization. If they failed, it would be the greatest military disaster in history. If they succeeded, it would prove that humanity could stand against any threat. Admiral Carter's briefing was short and direct. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to attempt something unprecedented. We're taking our entire fleet across hundreds of light years to fight an unknown enemy. The odds are against us. The risks are enormous. But those people at Haven trusted us to protect them. We will not let them down. The Admiral looked around the room at his commanders. Each of you knows your mission. Each of you knows the risks. But I want you to remember something else. We are not just representing Earth today. We are representing the idea that humanity stands together, no matter what. Neil returned to his ship feeling more determined than ever. The crew was ready. The weapons were charged. The engines were prepared for the longest jump in human history. All ships report ready for jump, sir, his communications officer announced. Neil looked out at the fleet one last time. Nearly 1,000 ships, carrying the hopes and dreams of billions of people. In a few minutes, they would disappear into faster-than-light travel, beginning a journey that would take them 3 months to complete. This is Captain Thompson to all ships. Jump drives are charged and ready. On Admiral Carter's mark, the fleet hung in space, silent and waiting. Then Admiral Carter's voice filled the communications channels. All ships, jump now. The stars disappeared as the greatest armada in human history leaped into the void, racing toward a distant world where their people waited for rescue. Admiral Stephen Carter stood on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance and stared at the tactical display in horror. The Haven system was worse than anyone had imagined. The planet that had once been green and beautiful was now scarred with massive geometric patterns where the aliens had stripped away forests and cities. Sir, long-range sensors are picking up 312 alien vessels, reported the sensor officer. They've grown since the initial attack. Carter felt his stomach tighten. The aliens had used Haven's resources to build more ships. What had started as a fleet of 200 had become an armada of over 300 organic vessels, some the size of small cities. Any sign of survivors? Carter asked. Faint life signs detected in underground locations, sir. The aliens appear to have left some areas untouched. Carter allowed himself a moment of hope. Some of the colonists were still alive. That meant this massive gamble might actually save lives instead of just avenging the dead. Captain Monica Fisher's voice crackled over the communication system from her destroyer ESS Thunder. Admiral, my scouts are detecting energy patterns unlike anything we've seen. These ships appear to be alive, sir. Actually alive. Carter studied the alien fleet through the main viewer. The ships moved like sea creatures, flowing and pulsing. With organic motion, their hulls seemed to breathe, and strange lights flickered along their surfaces like nerve impulses. All ships. This is Admiral Carter. We face an enemy unlike any we have encountered. But remember why we are here. 50,000 humans trusted us to protect them. We will not fail them. The human fleet spread out in attack formation. 900. Ships arranged themselves in a massive wall of metal and determination. The battleships took the center, their heavy weapons charged and ready. The cruisers formed the flanks, while destroyers and frigates prepared for hit-and-run attacks. Sir, the alien fleet is responding, reported the tactical officer. They're moving to intercept us. Carter watched as the organic ships flowed toward them like a living tide. There was something beautiful and terrifying about their movement, like watching predators in their natural element. All ships opened fire. The space between the two fleets erupted in light and energy. Human weapons lanced out in brilliant beams, while the alien ships responded with weapons that seemed to twist space itself. The first exchange lit up the darkness like a deadly fireworks display. Captain Monica Fisher led her destroyer squadron in the first attack. Her ships dove toward the alien formation, firing everything they had. This is Thunder Squadron, engaging the enemy. But something was wrong. The alien ships absorbed the human weapons fire and seemed to grow stronger. Worse, the energy from damaged human ships was flowing toward the aliens, helping them repair and even create new vessels. "Admiral, our weapons are feeding them," Monica reported as her ship shook under alien fire. "They're using our own energy against us." Carter realized the horrible truth. The aliens were not just predators, they were parasites. They fed on energy, and matter growing stronger with every attack. The massive human fleet was not an advantage. It was exactly what the aliens wanted. All ships change tactics. Focus fire on individual targets. Don't let them distribute the energy. The battle turned into a deadly dance. Human ships had to get close enough to concentrate their fire while avoiding the alien weapons that could drain them dry. Ships exploded on both sides, filling space with debris and the bodies of brave crews. Commander Lisa Wright of the ESS Phoenix noticed something during the chaos. "Admiral, the alien ships seem to be coordinated. They're moving like a single organism." Carter looked at the tactical display with new eyes. The alien fleet was not just working together, they were connected somehow, like cells in a body or neurons in a brain. "Right? Can you identify a command structure?" "Yes, sir." "There's a massive ship at the center of their formation. It's 3 times larger than the others and seems to be controlling the smaller vessels." Carter made the hardest decision of his career. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel." "Everything we have, sir, that will leave us exposed. We'll take massive casualties. Do it anyway." The human fleet reorganized around this desperate plan. The largest ships would make a direct assault on the alien command ship, while the smaller vessels protected them.
Oh.
It was a suicide mission. But it was their only chance. Captain Brian Adams of the destroyer ESS Hammer volunteered to lead the attack. "Admiral, my ship is already damaged. Let us clear a path for the battleships." "Adams, you won't make it back." "I know, sir. But maybe the others will." Adams led his ship and 3 other damaged destroyers straight into the heart of the alien formation. The small human ships fought like cornered animals, taking incredible punishment while blasting holes in the alien defenses. "This is Hammer. We're breaking through. Ships follow us in." The S-Hammer exploded in a ball of fire just as it reached the alien command ship, but not before delivering a devastating blow to the creature's nerve center. The sacrifice opened a gap that the battleships used to pour fire into the alien commander. The effect was immediate and shocking. As the command ship died, the other alien vessels began acting confused and disorganized. They stopped working together and started attacking randomly, some even firing on each other. Now, all ships pressed the attack. Carter ordered the human fleet fell on the confused aliens like wolves on scattered sheep. Without their coordination, the organic ships were still dangerous, but no longer invincible. One by one, they fell to concentrated human fire. Captain Monica Fisher led the final assault. Her battered destroyer somehow still fighting. "This is thunder. The alien fleet is breaking apart. We're winning." The last alien ship died 3 hours. After the battle began, space around Haven was filled with the wreckage of both fleets, but the humans had won. Carter looked at the casualty reports and felt his heart break. 312 human ships destroyed. 45,000 brave souls lost in the battle, but they had won. And somewhere on the planet below, human survivors were sending signals of joy and relief. Greatest gamble in human history had paid off. All ships began rescue operations, Carter ordered. "Let's bring our people home." Dr. Susan Hayes stepped out of the medical transport and looked at the underground shelter where Jake Morrison and his people had survived for 6 months. The entrance was hidden beneath fallen rocks and twisted metal, but inside, 31. 1,000 colonists had waited in darkness for rescue to come. "Doctor, you need to see this," called Nurse Billy Chen from inside the shelter. Susan followed him through narrow tunnels carved from rock and earth. Emergency lights flickered along the walls. It's powered by makeshift generators that the colonists had built from salvaged parts. The main cavern was huge, filled with beds and small living spaces. Families huddled together, thin and tired, but alive. Children played quietly in corners while their parents talked in whispers. When they saw Susan's uniform, hope filled their eyes. "Are you really here?" asked a woman holding a small girl. "Are we really saved?" Susan knelt down beside them. "Yes, we're here. The entire Earth fleet came to get you." The woman started crying. We heard the battle above. The ground shook for hours. We thought we were all going to die. Jake Morrison appeared from deeper in the tunnel system. He looked older than his 50 years, with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. But he still carried himself like a leader. "Doctor, welcome to what's left of Haven Colony. Mr. Morrison, I'm amazed you kept so many people alive." "Did you do it?" Jake smiled sadly. "We had good people. Ryan Davis organized our defense when the aliens first attacked. We held them off long enough to get most people underground. Lisa Clark kept our power systems running with spare parts and hope. Amy Foster maintained communications so we could coordinate between the shelters. Susan learned that the colonists had fought the aliens for 3 days before retreating underground. They had used mining equipment as weapons and farm tunnels as escape routes. When the aliens started hunting them in the tunnels, the humans had collapsed sections to block them off. We lived on emergency rations in underground springs," Jake continued. "We grew mushrooms in the dark and recycled everything. The children were so brave. They never complained, even when we ran out of real food." Dr. Susan Hayes organized the largest medical operation in human history. Portable hospitals were set up around Haven's ruins, while medical teams treated colonists for malnutrition, injuries, and trauma. Most of the survivors were in poor health after 6 months underground, but they were alive. Engineer Chief Patricia Lee coordinated the reconstruction effort. Her teams worked around the clock to restore basic services to the planet. Power plants were rebuilt, water systems were repaired, and new shelters were constructed for the survivors. "The good news is that the planet is still livable," Patricia reported to Admiral Carter. "The aliens damaged the surface, but they didn't poison the soil or water. We can rebuild here." Captain Danny Walker and his civilian volunteers had proven themselves heroes during the rescue. The mining ship ESS Iron Mountain had been the first to land on Haven, bringing food and medical supplies. Other civilian ships had followed, turning the rescue into a massive relief operation. The news of the victory spread across human space faster than the returning fleet. Every world in human territory celebrated. People gathered in streets and parks to cheer the news. The humans had faced an alien threat and won, but the victory came with a terrible price. 312 ships had been destroyed in the battle. 45,000 brave men and women had died to save their fellow humans. Admiral Carter carried the weight of those losses like a physical burden. The memorial service was held in orbit around Haven. Representatives from every human world attended, along with the families of the fallen. Admiral Carter spoke for all of humanity when he addressed the crowd. "We came here because our people called for help. We answered with everything we had, because that is who we are. We are humans. We do not abandon our own. Do not leave anyone behind in the darkness." He paused and looked out at the assembled fleet, now much smaller than when it had arrived. 45,000 heroes died here to save 31,000 strangers. They traded their lives so that families could be reunited, so that children could grow up free, so that the light of human civilization would not go out in this distant place. The Admiral's voice grew stronger. "Let every world in the galaxy hear this message. Humanity protects its own. Distance does not matter. Numbers do not matter. Danger does not matter. When humans call for help, we will come. We will come with everything we have." Jake Morrison was elected governor of the rebuilt Haven Colony. The planet became a symbol of human determination and sacrifice. A permanent defense station was built in orbit, staffed by volunteers from across human space. Never again would Haven face the darkness alone. The colony grew stronger than ever. New settlers arrived from Earth and other worlds, drawn by the story of survival and rescue. Haven became known as the place where humanity proved what it truly respected, meant to be human. In the center of New Haven City, a memorial park was built where the first alien ship had fallen. The names of all 45,000 heroes were carved into black stone walls. At the center stood a simple message. They cried for help. Earth answered with the entire fleet. Children played in the memorial park while their parents worked. In the rebuilt farms and factories, above them, the lights of patrol ships moved across the night sky, keeping watch. The colonists knew they were safe now, protected by the promise that humanity would never abandon its own. Years later, when other colonies faced danger, they would remember Haven. They would remember that when humans called for help, the answer would come. It might take months to arrive, it might cost thousands of lives, but it would come. The Battle of Haven changed humanity forever. They were no longer just a collection of scattered worlds. They were a family, bound together by the simple promise that no human would face the darkness alone. When they cried for help, Earth had answered with the entire fleet. In doing so, they had become something greater than they had ever been before. The stars no longer seemed cold and empty. They were filled with the light of human determination, and that light would never go out.